Over the years, Theresa Miulli has held nearly every role in cosmetology education. She's been a student, teacher, administrator, faculty evaluator, and curriculum consultant. Now she's an independent educator through her channel, The Intentional Classroom. In our conversation over Zoom, she shares her vision for the future of beauty school: hybrid programs, engaged students, and well-trained leaders. Let's hear what she has to say. I definitely have some questions about the courses that are on your website. So the one that I'm most interested in hearing about is Inspiring Leaders in Beauty Education Brain Trust. Okay,
Yes.
first of all, that's an amazing title. I love the idea of the brain trust. So can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, I'm super excited about this. So my background was as the chief academic officer of a group of cosmetology schools. And so most of my career, I've been grooming leaders in the career college sector, and that doesn't really exist. I have found when I go to different schools and help them set up curriculum, help them do these things, it's if you become a leader because you've been there the longest, like that's typically what it is. And you become a leader with no training on how to lead people, right? And so I, for a long time, have recognized that there is a need for some type of leadership training program for future leaders of the career college sector, especially cosmetology schools, especially. And I'm not belittling what we do, but we're a bunch of artists that get put into an administrative position. Basically, if I can get school owners to sign their future leaders up, where we meet weekly on Zoom and we discuss, kind of have an actual school for leadership. I just think the conversation has to start somewhere. So that's really what it is it's a half hour for 5 days where we just kind of meet and we start that conversation about what does it look like to be a leader in this industry? What is it going to look like in 2021? How are we going to now incorporate what we've learned in COVID forever, because it's not going away. Even when the virus calms down, what we've learned is crucial. And if we go back to how things were, this was pointless then. All of this year, this trial was pointless. So I just see it over and over again that the people that are sitting in leadership in especially cosmetology schools just have no idea what they're supposed to be doing or what it looks like, or they were a hairstylist that fell in which is exactly what happened to me. I was a hairstylist that fell into the spot. And I luckily worked for somebody who really trained me and really worked with me. But for a long time, I was like, what am I doing? I just want to cut someone's hair again.
What are the areas where you see that educators need professional development the most
It's
often?
always structure and organization, always. There, like you said, a lot of teachers become teachers because of their personality. So they're great at, doing demos, and they're great at guiding and getting students excited. And they're even creative enough that they can come up with the games and the activities a lot of times. It's that they don't build a structure. And so what I see is that they run out of things to do instead of run out of time. And I'm always preaching, run out of time. You want to run out of time to get everything done, not run out of things to do. So you have students sitting around on their phones because the teacher didn't plan enough and they didn't write it out. They didn't actually put the structure in. A lot of administrative stuff, meaning they don't get their grades put in. They don't have an organization. There's no organization for them. Like they don't have a plan. And then walking that line between friendly and friend, right? Being friendly, being engaging, but not being their friend, because they cross that line, they become friends. That line blurs too much, and now they're no longer holding students accountable. So it's almost always those two things: structure and that line, finding that line of being approachable and friendly, yet setting strong enough expectations that students don't walk all over you. So when I do evaluations, it's almost always that.
So how can I create an intentional classroom?
Well, I think the reason I named the company The Intentional Classroom is because I think everything we do should be with intention. And I don't think that's common, unfortunately. So I think to have an intentional classroom, it's that you're giving thought to everything that you do. It's that every day you have a lesson plan, that you are considering the setup of your desks, that you are developing a library of resources for your classroom, that you are, organized for grades. It's that everything you've done has intention and that you're not winging it in any way. And that comes down to the actual facility, to your lesson plan, to how you engage with students. And that when you start to embrace and understand that you are being looked at in everything that you do as a teacher, as a leader, as a stylist, then you've become intentional, right? When you recognize that and you own that, because I think that's one of the hardest things for new teachers to understand is that you are no longer the fun hairstylist just partying it up, at the hair show. You are now being watched in everything you do. And if you don't take every action with intention, you're going to let somebody down in some way. And so I think to me, that's the biggest thing is that you really evaluate all the facets of education from, like I said, your facility to how you deliver your lessons and make sure that everything you do has purpose and it's relevant to what's happening today, not 10 years ago in the industry, and that you are constantly evaluating all of those things so that you're evolving with the needs of the student.
That really echoes a through line in our work as hairdressers, which is that when we're not intentional about the shape we're creating or about how we're lifting or depositing color, we end up with a result that we didn't plan for. That's really a great way of kind of taking some of the core principles of what we do and applying them to education.
Well, and you bring up a really good point, and this has always astonished me, is that as a stylist, they would never exhibit the behavior sometimes that I see them exhibit as a teacher. Like they would never no show to their client. They would never not hold their client accountable if they didn't come in on time. They would never just willy-nilly do something. So why are they doing it as teachers when it's more important? We're shaping people now, and so it's always astonishing to me that things that they would never do as a stylist, they'll now do as a teacher. And I don't say they as in the world, but the ones that really need the help and need the professional development, it's almost always structure and professionalism, that whole, like, you're a role model all the time now. You got to act it.
Right. A lot of things on your YouTube channel kind of date from, like I said, when California went into lockdown in springtime.
Yeah.
So how else has it changed your workload, your business model, and the types of classes that you're offering?
That is something that happened with COVID that went really well. It actually helped me, which is a terrible thing to say out loud, but it actually benefited my business because I've always been the voice that's like, think outside the box, think differently, think differently. And so when this happened, a lot of people reached out to me.
Now I think it's kind of broken us out of that mold of like, well, this is always the way it's been done, which we really suffer from.
You sure can do beauty school online.
Right, like, want to bet? Because now we are.
I know some schools just shut down because they're like, oh, you can't do it. And some reached out to me. I had one that her owner just wouldn't budge on it. And I bet they're closed now because they wouldn't make the decision. They wouldn't move forward. And she kept reaching out to me. I'm like, I don't know your owner. I can't do anything about that. I'll help you. I'll help you for free. I can't do it for you though.
So much of what we're doing in education, you can kind of like bring back to your time behind the chair. Like, yeah. Okay, I'm going to try something. I don't really know if it's going to work, but like if it does work, that would be amazing.
Right, then we win. Yeah, and that's that's my philosophy on teaching anyways. Is I just keep trying. I'm just not afraid to try, and I have no fear of failure. Like I have no fear of falling down, and for me to go, yep, that didn't work. Like I just don't have an ego when it comes to that stuff. So because of that, I'm always trying new things. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Seriously.
You got to do something else.
Right. I gotta try again. Oh no, like
yeah. Absolutely.
I've pushed for a hybrid program for years. I've been saying, why aren't we hybrid? Why aren't we making it easier for the working student? And then COVID happened. I'm like, see? And because it really has pushed everybody to think differently. And I'm just that person. As a school leader, I was always somebody that's like, well, let's try this. And it didn't always work. I mean, sometimes I bombed at stuff, but I think COVID has pushed everybody to think that way. And I am just praying and pushing for people to continue thinking that way after things calm down. Because I think hybrid is where it's at, where we do the theory-based stuff online, and then they come to school 1 to 2 days a week for practical, and that's it. And then they can work. And I think our brand of student would succeed that way.
I think so too. Before we go, I want to give you a compliment on your color wheel tattoo, which I saw for a second. Oh my God, so cute. I love it.
I can't even show it.
I love
The students picked that out, actually. That was a bet from the students.
No, okay, I need to know more about this.
Yeah, so for years, I taught the hair color chapter. And so I taught it, I don't know how many times. And it was always like a standing joke that was like, you can't have, or something like, don't memorize the color, or don't rely on looking at the color wheel, because unless you have a tattoo on your arm, you're not going to have it on test day. And so finally someone was like, why don't you get a tattooed on your arm? And I was like, okay, you pick out the tattoo, I'll do it. And then the next day they were like, here it is. And I was like, oh. And so my tattoo artist actually had her shop next to the school, like by chance. I mean, I was her client well before that happened. But so we walked over there. I was like, Piper, can you tattoo this on me next week? And she's like, sure. So literally it was a class project. And so I know then someone's like, it's like a gay snake bite. I'm like, maybe it is like a gay snake bite. I don't know. But it's, I mean, I have to explain, it's watercolor color wheel. But yeah, it really was a bet from the students. And I don't know, it's speaking art, it's living art to me. It's not just a mark on my body. So, so that one I love. It's actually probably one of my favorite ones, is the color wheel, because it has a story and it will connect me to those students forever. So.
Yay. I love it.
Speaking with Theresa gave me a sense of optimism and opportunity. I feel I can teach more intentionally and make the most of the changes wrought by COVID-19. For more of her content, find her on YouTube at The Intentional Classroom or her website at theresamiulli.com.